Welcome back to the Jagged Edge. Gus, welcome. If you don't know who Gus is, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Hey everybody, I'm Gus. I work for Big Cat Country as the site manager, as well as for 1010XL as a multimedia manager of sorts. I'm on Twitter at Gus_Logue, and I'm basically just a part-time Jags media person.
And to say the least, it has not been a fun last 4 weeks for the Jacksonville Jaguars, coming off another double-digit L in the hands of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And a lot has really happened. Is there anything that you really want to start off with? As I could ask a multitude of questions. What is like your biggest takeaway over this four-game slump?
You're right, this guy is definitely falling. I don't think anyone in Jacksonville would be surprised if like Chicken Little came out and said the sky was falling because we're all already looking up. I mean, I've been kind of scratching my head for the past week. I was telling you before we started recording that I've been looking ahead towards like free agents available in 2024. And this is the first week that I've like really looked ahead to the off season. Because before, even when they lost three in a row, I was kind of like, I don't know, like they still could turn around. Like Doug Peterson loves saying in press conferences, like all of our goals are still right in front of us, which technically they are. But even though they technically are this week, like we all know that like the season's kind of over. It'll be interesting to see like whether or not they make the playoffs because I don't think anyone has really expected them to get that far. So, like I was saying, it's definitely a head scratcher though, because like everything's falling apart all over the place. It's not like you can just like point to one area and say like, oh, the wide receivers are bad and that's like why they're losing. It's so many different mistakes. And so I kind of think it like has to start from the top in terms of like roster building and the players that have been brought in. And it's just not been enough, especially with the way that the front office was kind of like lackadaisical in like last offseason. So yeah, because I mean the players and the coaches, obviously, I think like a lot of people are trying to say like one way or the other that it's coaches or players, but I mean, I think you got to go higher than that if you're assigning blame.
Yeah, I had a lot of, I don't know if it's just like the heat of the moment, but I'm not the only one alone in thinking that, I don't think it happens, but you do have to consider whether the general manager and the head coach is correct within the situation. Now, the cons have shown to be very patient when it came to, since they've came into the league in 2012, 2013, to be very, very patient owners when it comes to general manager head coaching. But when you have, I think was it the New York Times had a 99% chance to make the playoffs after week 12, and
Right.
you're now, it's still like you said, it's still in their hands. There's some weird scenario where we could clinch AFC South on Sunday and we can forget it for like 24 hours. But
Uh-huh.
at the end of the day, it's just like you said, a multitude of issues have popped up over this four-game losing streak that kind of reared its ugly head kind of after the end of the last NFL draft. So where you say, okay, what can the Jags do here, here, here that we can talk about a bit more later? But it's just starting to rear its ugly head.
Yeah, I think I'm still definitely of the belief that Doug is a good head coach, but I think the really troubling thing is that like he's had the same issue in Jacksonville that he had in Philadelphia, where like apparently he got outed by the Eagles because he was kind of like holding on to Press Taylor and didn't want to fire Press Taylor and was doing like the whole Andy Reid shtick where Andy gave Doug and previous offensive assistants like play calling duties so that it would better their chances to get head coaching jobs down the road. And like Press Taylor pretty clearly wants a head coaching job based on like his agent leaking the news that he's calling plays this year, like hours before the season opener. Um, I mean, I don't know if it was his agent, but obviously, like someone leaked it at a what they thought was a pretty good time. So we'll see what happens this offseason. I think it'll be interesting, like you said, with like so much patience that the Khan family has had. Like I don't know if Doug Peterson is really can afford much patience. I think he's gonna have to be a little bit direct and say like this roster isn't good enough towards like Trent Baalke or towards Press Taylor. Be like the play calling isn't good enough, and I want to get you a head coaching job, but I gotta do my job first and foremost.
Yeah, and
And so
playing devil's advocate too. It is Doug Peterson who puts Press Taylor in that position of being his offensive coordinator with the frustrating things that we talked about last week. Javal and I and Christian talked about how ineffective this team is running the football and the over reliance on the screenplay when we're like by far and above the worst screen and inside or the screen offense in the entire league, which is very, very frustrating.
yeah, the screens annoy me because like they've been doing the same things since last year. Like I feel like part of the reason the Jags offense was pretty good in terms of like success rate last year, is because like everything was kind of new. They had a couple of new weapons. They were in a new offense, and like opposing teams had like seen like the types of screens that Doug Peterson was calling because like it's not like he like invented a new play. But the way that they were doing it with the players they were doing it, it was the first year of that. And so now teams have had some time to like watch the film and get used to Doug Peterson's Jaguars offense. And like they're just kind of like running the same stuff because they feel like they can't run the ball because they get no push from their interior offensive line. And then they can't pass downfield because A, who are you going to pass downfield to? And B, like there's not really enough time to let a lot of downfield shots develop. So yeah, it's all over the place, like we're saying.
Yeah, and Javal's gonna join us at any moment now.
Nice.
But what do you call it? I wanted to say that one of the big issues that kind of reared its ugly head was just how bad the interior offensive lineman is. That's the first thing that really pops up to me, especially when we talk about running the football and setting up all the screenplays that he ran this season. There's a lot of times, especially last Sunday, where they sent five, six, even seven players up to rush Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor just has no time to react, and he either has to take a hit, yeah, he does, he loses the ball, or it forces him to make a very, very, errant decision, which, could be an interception.
Yeah, I think it definitely starts with the offensive line, even though like really none of the position groups are really doing their job the best. I mean, I guess the tight ends are doing okay, but like the running backs have like lacked vision and not really doing their part in helping out the offensive line. What up, Javal?
Gus, sorry I took so long. I had to walk the dog, but she trolled because it was raining this morning. So then I tried to see if she would actually poop in the afternoon instead of a quick walk, but she didn't even poop at all. So just dog dad things. But
Just
let me.
dog tag things.
It's
Hey,
okay.
no
Speaking
worries,
of
man.
shit, we were talking about how our screen offense and interior offensive linemen were. So good little
Yeah.
segue there from you, Javal.
Are we already recording?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
We're throwing you into the middle of the fire like the Jaguars do Trevor Lawrence every Sunday.
Yeah, no.
That sounds about right. Love the hat, by the way. Spin the Casa champ.
Of course.
That's what I was
Gus
saying
said the
too.
same thing.
Javal, what's your biggest worry with the Jags offense? Who do you assign the blame to? You got
Well,
to point
there's
the finger at one person.
literally the guy in the middle, the man in the middle himself.
Yeah.
I mean, I, I remember we had the EPA like rush location. He had the John pulled up the graphic last graph, and it was worse for right guard than center. But at least with Scherf, I'm pretty sure Scherf is going to be gone next season regardless. I mean, just in terms of contract and age, I don't see. I mean, even if he was playing well, I'd be, maybe they restructure him. But given that he hasn't really played how they've expected him to, I think they're getting rid of Scherf. Fortner is the biggest fear because I can see them replacing Scherf. I don't know by now if they replace Fortner or if they're just going to say, hi, another year he's going to get stronger. So to me, the biggest fear is that even until next year is that they stick with Fortner as the starting center. And then if he doesn't get any better, then it's just 3 years of a center who has a 70 strength rating in Madden. So
Yeah, I'm getting pretty sick of the man in the middle too. Like it's been 2 full years of this, and like every all the Jags coaches like or mostly Peterson and Baalke too like keep standing up for this guy, and they're
oh,
like
he's
we
so
like him a
smart.
lot.
He's so
Yeah, like he's so
intelligent.
smart. He helps out with the protection, and like he actually is a decent like blocker and pass protection too. It's not just pre-snap, but like in the run game he just like gets pushed around, and like it's not only a strength thing, like it's definitely like a technique thing too. And like there's plenty of times where he's just like not even the same area and like looking around after the play, like as if he's like thought a different play was coming. And so I'm definitely hoping that the Jags try to upgrade that position in the offseason, but I can't say I'm really expecting it.
Remember
We're
I
in a
said,
league. Oh, sorry, Javal. Go for it.
now I'm just gonna say one thing to Gus was that I said that Fortner's great in between the brain, but everything else he's not great at. My friend said that was a Stephen A. Smith quote, so I just wanted to say that again with
Oh
Fortner
yeah.
because it's just like you were saying. I know, obvious. I don't think Doug doesn't see Fortner struggling in the run game. I don't think they're blind to it. So they're
Yeah.
obviously they must see something, whether it's in practice or just how he reads the field, where they said, okay, they don't want to bench this guy because it's not even so much. I don't think Shatley's a world beater, but they know what Shatley is and they don't want to start him. So they must have some comfortability with Fortner that we as the fans have no idea why. But that's the
Yeah,
Jags for you.
I don't think you're wrong necessarily, but I will say that like Peterson has like never talked bad about a player, even when like someone is clearly struggling and the media kind of like asks him about it, like he'll say like, "Oh, like call it rust if you will," and like that'll be the worst thing he'll say about the guy, and like he'll always be like, "Yeah, we like where he's at, we like him in the building, yada yada yada," just like pure coach speak. So just point that out.
Yeah,
You continue,
and
John.
So basically, I'm
yeah,
saying it's also possible that they hate his guts behind the scenes, but I'm agreeing with your overall point, which is we don't really know either way.
yeah, I was just trying to make the point. We're in a point where we have a rookie quarterback who's still on his rookie contract. I know they're probably not going to make the extension this year, which is how bad this last month has been. Whether that's Trevor Lawrence's fault or not, which we can get to a bit later. But we're in a league where, especially when teams keep trying to upgrade, teams that are contending, and the fact that Trent Baalke sat in his hands for so long when it came to pass rushers, especially interior offensive linemen. I know you already invested a day three pick into Luke Fortner, but as like I said, it's frustrating. They could have done even more. You
Not even
know,
a day. It wasn't a day three pick. It was a round three pick.
oh yeah, round three, not day three. Yeah, day
Even
two pick. My
even
bad.
worse.
Yeah, you're right. Round three, day two. You invested a day two pick on someone that's one of the worst centers in the NFL. And it's just crazy to think that we took guys like Meester and Linder for granted. And once they're gone, we get stuck with one of the worst centers in the NFL.
Dude, I still think about I still think about Brandon Linder all the time, just because of
Yeah.
like how
Under
He's
consistent he
still only
was.
like
He's
31
like
too. It's
he was the
crazy.
perfect offensive lineman because no one talked about him, and that's how you knew that he was doing a good job.
Yeah,
But
I think
Absolutely.
we talk about Fortner way too much.
the only time we talked about Linder was I just wanted him to make the Pro Bowl because he was so underrated.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
yeah, everyone would be like, oh, Linder was so great. And I didn't it's just so funny because even when the Jags offense 2017, the running game wasn't that great, but it was more so just because teams would stack the box because Bortles and Nate Hackett. And now that, we actually have a quarterback who teams are like, well, he can throw the ball. It doesn't matter because the press isn't calling a ton of shots down the field and just the offensive line. So it's very ironic that as we get the quarterback, the offensive line is still in disarray. That's so Jags.
That's so Jags. That should be their new thing. Is not. It was always the Jags. Just that's so Jags.
I mean, I feel like
Every
because
stupid play
Jaguars have always
this
been a
season,
thing, though.
that's so Jags. Every time the Bortles would have those interceptions off a helmet or a foot, that'd be that so Jags. That's so Jaguars.
Yeah.
It's a
Or
dumb
God hates
turnover.
the Jaguars.
God hates
Yeah,
Jags.
God hates Jags.
That pick
Yeah,
was hilarious.
yeah, exactly. Shout out Medlin, my fellow favorite Jag, one of my favorite Jags online. But
Should we talk Trevor? What
yeah,
percentage of the
it's
blame would you guys assign Trevor for just the season in general?
I don't want to
If
place. That's the thing, though.
team
Oh, go ahead, Javal. I've been talking a
Okay,
lot.
well, I was just going to say, if I think of where the off problems with this offense, I would probably put Trevor's play fourth or fifth. I think the biggest problem with Trevor is that he wants to play through injury, which every quarterback, I understand why they want to. I think he should just rest, but that's just me. But I think even really before the rest, when they were having the win streak, but there's still some problems, Trevor did have some dumb turnovers, some dumb fumbles and interceptions. But I still think he was playing well and making the accurate reads. I think as he's gotten injured, his accuracy has gone a little bit worse. I remember even a few plays the Ravens game, you know, they were couple plays to be made where guys are open and he just sailed it a little bit high or missed Ingram in the middle. So that part I do blame Trevor a little bit, but also considering the man has this year as a whole, he's had what the knee sprain against the Colts, then played versus the Saints, and then he had what did he have versus the bank? Oh, the high ankle sprain,
Right.
and then he had the concussion, and then he has a
Right.
shoulder. So as he's just getting more and more beat up, I think his play has gotten a little bit worse, but it's understandable. And just as the rest of the offense has fallen apart, you're seeing more of Trevor's flaws. They try to play hero ball. So has he been a problem with the offense? I could say yes. Is he the biggest? I'd say he's probably the smallest problem because if you rank what's the worst issues, it mainly stems back to play calling and offensive line. Then some receiver issues just in terms of, running. I don't say miscommunication, but just drops and some bad fumbles. And then I would say just Trevor not playing that well. So
Yeah, and it's
the
crazy
casuals will
because
say,
yeah. No, yeah, all the
casuals will hate.
turnovers. Yeah. They'll see the fumbles lost and the
It's ridiculous.
interceptions and be like, "Hey, what gives?" But like I said, it's just a combination of bad play calling, inept blocking at running, and sometimes pass protection, which means Trevor has to play hero ball all the time, which as we've seen is not what any successful NFL offense looks like.
Yeah, I would assign 0% of the blame to Trevor, which is not going to
Ooh,
set you
that's a
guys up with the.
bold
Trevor play.
statement.
I don't. I
Just
get it
because,
though.
like, you had a really good point with the injuries. I think like people aren't talking about that enough. That like obviously people are talking about the injuries because there's been so many of them, but like he's been like an Iron Man, like trotting out there every week, and so the fact that he's playing at all is like pretty, I don't know, incredible. Maybe not incredible, but it's good. Even if like the product isn't always great, but like no one is really like helping him around him. And like you guys both mentioned hero ball, and that's like my main argument is that like there's no one stepping up around him to provide like either a higher floor or a higher ceiling for the offense. And like he's like forcing mistakes because he feel like he has to do everything, especially with like the fumble issue specifically. Like I feel like it's a mental issue more than a physical issue to clean up, where it's like you got to just understand that like you got to live to the next play and you can't give the ball away. And so like you gotta have to like kind of accept that. But Trevor hasn't been able to accept that because he's being forced into a hero ball and like has to do everything. And so like I keep thinking about Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and how every week it feels like he's like yelling at his offensive line or like whining about his receivers and like kind of rightfully so. And so I'm like wondering how long it's going to take for us to see an outburst like that from Trevor. And I mean, we kind of did sort of see it last week because he said that thing post game about how it looks like the team doesn't even practice. So
Do they
we're
practice?
we're already getting to that point, dude.
Do they practice? That's the question.
I
Certainly
I
doesn't
I
look
can't
like
answer
it.
that.
It's the Josh Allen syndrome where he thinks that every play is the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, so he has
Right.
to try to win his team. And I even remember the first play he got hurt versus the Colts. I was at that game, and I think you talked about this too on Jag Report. Shout out back when I was actually listening to Jags podcast when they were winning games. So I could actually listen to a podcast. You
Yeah, no,
talked
that's
about how
fair.
Trevor could have thrown the ball away, but held on to it too long and then sprained his knee. And just even that as a whole is just Trevor, where the best parts and the worst parts with Trevor is that he wants to always make the play. And I think especially we saw a little bit of as the offense started to gel a little bit last year, he kind of got more into that game manager. And as the offenses started to not impress this year, that's when he's like, okay, revert back to those hero ball tactics. So I think he can turn it off depending on how the offense needs him to. It's just a matter of as the offense has gotten worse, he is like, okay, I'm gonna put the Superman cape on and try to just carry this team. And we've seen that it hasn't worked out well. So
I do think that like finding that balance between putting on the superhero cape and then just being a game manager and like kind of like letting the rest of your team win the game, like finding that balance is probably the most difficult trait for an NFL quarterback, in my opinion. Just because like we've seen like a bunch of other elite quarterbacks kind of like struggle with it. Like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes were like super aggressive downfield passers at the beginning of their career, and then like they've really had to kind of tone it back to become like more complete quarterbacks. Like Mahomes especially like was like kind of a check down merchant last year, but he was able to like just like help like let his the rest of his team like
do
win
enough.
more games, yeah, rather than like him putting on the superhero cape. And now that like the rest of his team isn't doing enough to win games this year, like he's putting the superhero cape back on and bad things are happening. I feel like a kind of like gross oversimplification of why Tom Brady is the GOAT is because he was the best at like finding that balance between superhero ball and game manager. And he was just like the best at giving or taking what a defense was giving him. And that's just so much easier said than done. And like we've just been like kind of watching Lawrence struggle with that this season. But with that said, none of it's like really his fault because of there's been so many injuries in the offensive line play. Like I think he and Press Taylor both feel like they have to put on superhero capes, like because the offensive line is messing up so much.
Is that some Press Taylor defense right there? That's the first that I've ever seen on this podcast. But
I
you
don't think
know
he's
what?
great, but like
Yeah.
I think he's fine. I think he's like not a good play caller, but like if they keep him as the like offensive
OC.
coordinator for next season and Doug is calling plays, I won't be mad at that. I think that's
I
fine.
I think it's fair. I mean, going back to what you're saying, how with press, how he has to try to compensate for the offensive line. I think that's maybe the reason they're trying to do so much screen game as an extension of the running game. But
Yeah.
as he's trying to do the screen game more and more, teams are more expecting it. So I think that's really the problem is the predictability with press because he knows he can't call a ton of inside runs. He can't call a ton of long developing plays. So he really it's in Madden where he just pretty much going short pass and medium pass. He can't really do deep pass that often because he knows your offensive line can't hold up. So I do think that is a fair defensive press. I'm not going to sit here and say I think he shouldn't get fired, but I do think it is a fair point where, not all of the play calling issues is on his fault. I think the biggest issue is, like you said, the offensive line. They can't really hold up long enough for a ton of shot plays, and they can't move the ball efficiently to move the chains. So, as a play caller, what else can you call to get the short plays, get the ball at your hands fast, but also you can't run the ball. So, it's a very fair complaint with press. But I liked your point you brought up with the offensive line.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I hope that he goes to the Chargers because the Chargers, nobody wants to go there. So, Press Taylor, if you want to take the Chargers job, you have my complete blessing if you really want
Press
that.
Taylor,
I
future
don't
head coach of the Carolina Panthers.
yeah, that's a
Nah, I
better
don't. I don't want that for Bryce Young though. I really don't want that.
yeah, but
Justin
like who wants
Herbert,
to coach
there you
Bryce Young
go.
is a thing. There's gonna be people who want to coach Justin Herbert, even if like the rest of the franchise is not ideal.
Press Taylor's perfect. He won't be expensive. He won't be,
Actually, speaking of cheap, he's gonna go to the Raiders. That makes the most sense. Raiders have a
I
cheap
think
owner.
no, the Raiders got to keep their guy. Pierce has been sick
they
for
can't
them.
make the same mistake as they
Antonio
did
Pierce.
last time. Yeah, they can't make the same mistake they did last time besides
Oh, I
trade.
don't. I don't think that they should let him go. But could they? Could I see it happening? I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's fair.
But
This is how
well,
far we fall in.
yeah.
I think if someone is gonna get fired this offseason within the coaching ranks, then I think it's a better chance it's like a Phil Rauscher or a Chad Hall than Press Taylor.
That's fair. I
I
Partly just
agree.
because like Press is obviously Doug's guy, or
Yeah.
yeah, Press is obviously Doug's guy, and then also like I don't know, like I think it's mostly been like the mess ups
the
at each
offensive
position,
line.
like for the wide receivers too, like there's been like so many wrong routes run, it's been like brutal, even like before they started popping up, like in this during this month-long losing streak, like it's been bad all season, to be honest. So I think the receiver or the offensive line coach would be like the two position groups that Doug would want to be like, we got to fix this.
Still a little bit sad that they let Keenan walk. I don't remember I
Yeah.
think it was the 2020 offseason. And
Yeah.
now look what obviously he has Justin Jefferson, Addison, two great talents, but look at how coaching has helped them elevate their games. And then now even I think going back to both not only the Chad Hall but Press. I mean the receivers, I think they've been okay this year. I mean, obviously, I'm a huge Ridley fan, so it's really weak to me. I think a lot of the Ridley blame, some of it is on him, but I think a larger part is he doesn't move around a lot, and they just for the first part of the year it was just line up at X and win vertically all the time without any help.
Yeah.
So And I think especially as we've seen more the younger receivers kind of been up and down, that definitely goes back to Chad Hall. So I think there are some flashes still, like, Parker for what he's worth for a 6th round rookie. I think he can probably be a solid slot backup. We'll see what happens, Elijah Cooks and Tam Jones. I mean, it's really just I definitely was disappointed because everyone talks about Chad Hall and how great he was and hosting dinners and getting the receivers to like him as a coach. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is having guys that aren't having making sure that everybody's ready to play. And if they aren't ready to play, then it reflects badly on you as a coach. So
Yeah, Chad definitely seems to be like a very big like relationships guy and like almost just like a vibes guy, which is like good and important, but like you got to be able to like teach the X's and O's pretty well.
Oh, so basically we have Gus Bradley as a wide receivers coach, is what you're telling me. Oh, I don't want to hear
yeah,
that now. But speaking of which, I think it's more likely that someone like a Rauscher might get canned. How long has Rauscher been in the
I think just
organization?
2 years because he came when Doug came, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, that's fair
Yeah.
enough.
I liked
That's
I liked
yeah.
Rauscher a lot last year, especially because like the Jags running game was actually like pretty interesting. They started out doing a lot of zone stuff because that's where Rauscher came from. The like wide zone stuff
From
in
Minnesota?
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Right. And then like as the year went on, I think they were trying to adjust to like NFL defenses who had adjusted to like Shanahan and McVay wide zone schemes. And so like the Jags offense, like a lot of other offenses, started running a lot more gap and man and power type stuff. But like now this year, just like nothing is working. They've got nothing close to a resemblance of an identity on offense, but especially in their running game.
And that's just what's frustrating because, as Jacksonville Jaguar fans, I feel like we've been accustomed to just no matter how bad the Jags can
No
be,
quarterback, but we have running backs.
yeah, we could always run the football. And this is the first year in I don't even know how long. Then I guess when Maurice Jones-Drew left for the first time where we don't know how to run a goddamn football. Like even
I
in the worst years, we've had some success running the football, whether that was, and we have like a super talented running back that could break any
Right,
tackle
yeah. It's like
possible, but
Travis Etienne is
yeah.
definitely good.
it's just so sad because ETN's production has been so poor, at least especially the past month. And it has nothing to do with him as a player. If you look at even Tank and Dearness Johnson, the yards per carry, I don't even think it's over 3 yards. So it's not even so much the backups are playing better. It's just you can tell whoever runs the ball is not going to have any success. And him without him breaking the long runs he did last year, it's his yards per carry has just dropped off a cliff. But I think he still has good Pro Bowl votes due to fantasy and touchdowns. So I just want
Mhm.
him to make the Pro Bowl. So he deserves it more so than anybody because of what he's had to go through. As a running back, you can only control so much in front of you, and it's funny his vision has gotten a lot better, and his yards per carry has dropped off a cliff because there's nowhere to run. That's so Jags. Running back gets better, offensive, and we still can't run the football. So
That is so Jags. I there's a decent amount of like good veteran running backs this year in the offseason. So I'm hoping the Jags are able to sign someone like a James Conner or Deontay Foreman or Zeke Elliott. I mean, James Conner isn't a free agent, but those other two are. But like
I mean,
someone like a veteran, like grounded pound guy, because like they've been trying to find that grounded pound guy through the draft, and it seems like they've got two pretty big whiffs at the plate. So like they need someone or like a David Montgomery who just signed with the Lions that would have been a good player. Like they don't need a Josh Jacobs or a Saquon Barkley or someone like that who's gonna or Derrick Henry even, who are all free agents, just like a solid veteran back who can take some time or like work off of Travis, but then able to like actually set up blocks between the tackles.
say that now they're gonna draft a running back round one because that's the bulky way.
Dude,
It
round
was
one would be
it was fifth round
crazy.
running back, and then it was third round power back, and now it's gonna be first round power back again. Just complete the cycle. But
I
I
know for sure. I was trying to think like what position is Baalke gonna pick in April that's gonna like piss everyone off because like
Middle
I think right now
linebacker.
another linebacker.
another
Another middle
linebacker.
linebacker.
I mean,
Oh man.
I'm just trying to think of positions that they think they're complete at, but with the Jags, they've always zagged where I think they're
They
getting
think they're
zigged.
complete everywhere.
That's the frustrating. I think no better process than last year, where they had a great first round pick in Anton, and they said, "Hey, we're gonna take a blocking tight end in the second round." And to Strange's fault, I don't think he's a bad player per se. I think as a rookie tight end, I think he has some flashes, but he hasn't really panned out. Tank is the more disappointing one because as a running back, the curve is a lot easier compared to a tight end.
Yeah.
With Tank, to be fair, I mean, the offensive line, I don't know which running back would necessarily do great other than, you know, Barry Sanders. So I don't want to say Tank is solely a bust. I will say he looks better than Snoop, which isn't saying much. Snoop, I
Yeah,
just
I
knew
mean,
was a
Snoop's
dead
not
pick.
even on the team anymore. I
Yeah,
wonder if they're probably just gonna like not really add another running back. Like they'll sign someone like Dearness Johnson, who will like be more of a special teams contributor more than anything. And they're probably just gonna hope that Tank Bigsby has like a sophomore season similar to Devin Lloyd, where he like actually starts to like think straight
look
and
like an
gets
NFL
gets
player.
some gets his confidence back. Because Lloyd, I feel like had like negative confidence during his rookie year, and that's kind of where Tank is at right now.
That's a good point. So knowing the Jags here, they're probably not going to be too aggressive. So it's just a matter of hoping that some other draft picks can develop, which I will say I don't hate some of Baalke's late. I think he's a better drafter in day 3 than he is in day 2, which is really stupid. But that's also very Jags. So
Who do you like from his day three drafts before 2023?
I mean, 2022. I think for what it's worth, Monteric for a 7th round corner that's been able to play decent. That's solid. I
Yeah,
mean, we'll see about Greg Jr. long term. Those secondary guys. I
I think he's
feel
a free agent in the offseason. So they were talking him up a lot, coaches in the offseason, but then he had like one injury and then
and then
wasn't able to like fill the gap once
Yeah,
Herndon
he made
was
a lot of
out.
plays
So
in the
like,
preseason and bam, injury. It's just the nature of the
yeah.
NFL, right? Forcing a bunch
So
of
I don't know about him.
turnovers.
I think they probably like Christian Broswell more.
yeah, I know they
He's
also
also
like Braswell too, which is also another late round flyer. So I mean, granted, I don't know if with the stats evaluation of players, I don't know if I should be excited. I will say I think the secondary, hopefully I have some faith in that, but it's just my biggest concern is just how they address the offensive line with the draft next year or just in free agency as
Mhm.
a whole because Scher's probably going to walk. We'll see what they do with Cam as he comes back, which I don't know if you talked about Cam's return, how that'll make an impact. I kind of want to talk about that a little bit, but we'll see what they do with Cam coming back. Ezra obviously is a free agent, so that's an area they need to attack the most. But given Baalke's draft record and free agency, I'm just this is
Yeah, that's
will it actually be any better?
That's the problem is that I have completely, we talked about it earlier before you got here, how if it were me personally that was controlling the Jags, I would legit question whether or not the general manager and even, if Baalke and Peterson are the right guys going forward because we had that 99% chance from the New York Times to make the playoffs. And the fact that you're leaving it this late into the season, like, even if we won one game in between these last 4 weeks, this
Would
Sunday
have
would
been
be for the AFC South. And the fact that it has not been a lock up until this point is an utter disappointment. And it goes to show the issues that we thought we saw at the end of last season are reappearing now and even worse than before, it seems like. It's just it's just gonna be a big problem if you keep around Baalke and hell even Peterson. I feel like it's too much of an issue to where when a fan base does not have confidence in a general manager because you took that third string blocking tight end and a running back that fumbled the ball so much early into the season where he doesn't even get like 10 snaps, not even 5 snaps in a football game, that I don't know what the future of this organization looks like, especially when you do look to have a franchise quarterback for the first time in like ever. Like almost like Gus wants to put 0% of the blame on Trevor Lawrence, and I can see where he's totally coming from, but you're not putting that quarterback in the best position. What makes me think you're going to do it now when you failed in San Francisco and now you're almost seem to destined to fail in Jacksonville?
Yeah, I think it's definitely fair to say the Jags are failing their franchise quarterback right now. But he does get Cam Robinson back this week, like Javal was saying. I mean, I would expect Cam Robinson to come back this week. I think that's what Doug Peterson is expecting too. But Doug
Yeah.
sounded pretty optimistic at the pressers that Cam come back. He practiced yesterday for the first time off of injured reserve, which he was originally on for a left knee injury, I think. So apparently he's looked good, and I think he's going to start a left tackle, which means Walker Little is back to the bench probably.
Or would they
I was
start him
also
over Ezra? Or do they
I
I
like
was
Ezra enough?
I would have thought that it was like a toss up before the week started, but then on Tuesday, I think someone asked him about like I think Mark Long asked if Walker Little was then going to be the swing tackle after like assuming Cam starts, and he said, "Yeah, like we're comfortable with him there, and then Ezra starting pretty much." Or that was at least my takeaway. So I think it's going to be Cam left tackle, Ezra left guard, and then the rest is the rest. But like I think they traded for Ezra definitely with like the intention to like make him a long-term piece. And so I almost wonder if like part of the part of the reason, probably the main reason that they're gonna have Walker Little not play is because like they see him as a tackle only player now after he like got injured 10 snaps into playing guard a couple months ago. But also I think like it might be just like kind of a tryout for Ezra Cleveland to like a give him like some time and some reps in the new system that he's in, but then it's also like see from the Jaguars front office point of view if it's a player they want to keep around for the long haul.
That's fair. I think even if you don't re-sign him, if a team's able to sign a big enough deal, it can maybe probably into a comp pick next year. So,
True.
um, so it's funny because I'm excited for Cam to be back, but it's just sad because the biggest problem is I don't think left tackle is the biggest issue. So even though, yeah, your left tackle is back, that's great. Your starting center still can't run block. So I'm
And you're
excited, but
yeah.
what were you gonna say, John?
It's probably gonna be CJ Beathard, isn't it? There's no way that you're gonna put
I
Trevor
hope it's
Lawrence back
Beathard.
there.
I don't want to see Trevor for his sake.
What's your
I
two
have
cents,
no
I don't
Gus?
want.
idea.
I
I
Yo,
don't.
like every time like this happens where Lawrence has an injury and then we're unsure, I just say like, well, every time it's happened, like he has played the next week, like he just keeps coming back. So I guess like if I had to say, I'm assuming that he will play on Sunday, but I don't
Unfortunately,
know. This is like the less certain I've been about that the whole season.
it's just it's a
I
throwing
think it
shoulder
was.
finally. You just gotta know. So I made a
Right.
statement last Sunday where this team's biggest downfall this season is pride. The pride the GM has in building the team that he thought would compete to the Super Bowl this year. The pride Doug Peterson has in Press Taylor and Trevor Lawrence, the pride of being the starting quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguar, whether or not he has 20 million injuries right now. And it just seems like an avalanche
That's
effect to where it affects the whole team. And it just forces the defense to try to do a bit more. It forces your quarterback to do a lot more. It's just seems like they're not, the vibes are not good right now. Is I don't know, like I don't even know if I want to see Trevor like back there. If you can't beat a 2-12 team with CJ Beathard, I know the Panthers had a very, very good game last week against Green Bay, but if you can't beat a 2-12 team with CJ
with your
Beathard, when you know,
playoffs on the line, by the way.
yeah, this is just like what a season this has been. Like the highest of highs and the lowest of the goddamn lows right now. Like I don't even want to see Trevor play, but I think that's just also frustration with how, like I said, we're in the situation to begin with.
I think also part of it is if well, if Beathard plays and Beathard plays poorly, then people are going to say, well, the whole offense just doesn't look that good. So the fans are saying, why does Trevor suck this year? If I just want to show a game with Beathard if he does struggle with no running game and it's gonna be third and sevens the whole day long. I'm like, well, this is what Trevor had to do, but with also injuries. So it
Yeah.
was there was a tweet. It was DJ Delphonic. He had the operation board, but with Trevor's face photoshopped onto it. It was the funniest thing I've seen. But yeah, that's
Dude,
basically
he has
Trevor.
a
Just
he has a banger tweet like every other week. That's a good follow.
Not even every other week. I feel like every week he has at least one banger every
oh
Yeah.
single
yeah,
week.
but yeah, I guess going back to saying about pride being the greatest thing is if the Jags allow this as to humble themselves, Doug is like, okay, press, I'll take play calling back. if Baalke says maybe I shouldn't take second and third stringers in day 2 and actually try to address needs and try to keep improving. And Trevor's trying to be smarter. It could be a season where that propel us for next year. It could also be a season where they just try to go back 2022 and they fail. So to me, I think the biggest thing is, just even the best general managers are never afraid to be aggressive, make upgrades. Even some of the teams this year, the Niners, they not only they had the best pass rushers and they traded for Randy Gregory and Chase Young because we need to keep getting better. And the Jags, to be fair, I think the Ezra trade is a great move for the value. So I think that was a good trade, but they could have even been more aggressive and
Yeah.
try to get into the
I,
sweepstakes.
I was gonna say,
So
and they like the Ezra trade was good, but like they kind of made it like because they had to, and like I feel like they kind of had to make a pass rush trade too, but then it didn't. But like the Niners
they
also,
still believe in Baby Shark though. So
yeah.
did you tell Gus about the bet? That's probably not happening anymore because he would have actually if he got that sack versus Baker, I might have been threatened. But now that he missed that sack, I'm like, yeah, there's no shot.
Oh yeah,
This
our
bet is
bet
super
for the
dead.
season was if Caleb on Chason had 5 sacks this season, we would both get matching sack guru jerseys. But he's stuck at 2 since what was the last time he got a
Week
sack?
9, I don't even remember.
Oh
I don't even
man.
remember
He
when the
had
last
that
time.
one versus Mahomes and then another one randomly, and he had his career high though, 2 sacks. So
So he's
this
got
is
two.
this is
Y'all
who
are
they
sick.
were. This is who they were. Yeah, yep. This is our third pass rusher. We like this guy, a special teamer, and has provided zero value. Just even things like that, where, you know, I think some of their how they view players has gotten better. Like Trevon and Lloyd have gotten a step better. How they view Chase on, okay, this is going to be our third pass rusher. He's going to have another year in the system and be even better. And he has done pretty much nothing the whole year. Same with Smoot. Obviously he has the injury, but the fact that they decided their backup pass rushers were a guy who's never done anything in his career, a solid rotational player coming off an Achilles, and then a rookie who doesn't even play, which I just want to know what Chason does in practice better than Abdullah, where Abdullah is inactive. Because if you put Abdullah on the field and replace him with Chason, how much worse would the defense get? I genuinely want to know because I don't think it would get much. I don't think it would get any better or any worse, if not maybe a little bit better. And at least with Abdullah, he's a rookie he wants to develop. With Chason, he's probably not gonna be here next year. I hope he's not next year. Because if he's here next year, then yeah, this if Chason is starting on this team, not even starting, if he's on the roster next year, throw the season away. It's trash.
He is going
Ballsy
to be
has
a free agent.
Oh,
I'd be
thank God.
surprised if they re-sign him. I don't like
I would
why
not
would
be that
they?
surprised. Considering that is bulky. I mean, he's gonna be dirt cheap, so Ball's gonna be like, "Yep, here's our pass rusher."
Yup.
Value. Hell yeah, value.
I
I
think
could.
I think all the pride points are fair except for the quarterback because Trevor Lawrence is never wrong. I think it's like
That's fair.
he just wants to win so badly. And like I think like the pride thing, like Peterson actually like called out like players' pride this week for the first time just to like try something new. I feel like he's like players have to have pride and like just like stop turning the ball over basically and start tackling better. And so like I think it's kind of like easy to see like the players that have pride and the players that don't, like the players that finish plays and the players that do finish plays and the players that don't. Like Josh Allen in the locker room last week was asked by a TV reporter like what it would mean to win at home because like the TV reporters are funny because like they're always trying to get like a really good soundbite about like from players being like, "Oh yeah, we love the fans, come pack the bank," which is totally fair because they're just doing their jobs. But like the reporter was clearly trying to be like, "Oh, what would it mean to like win at home?" And Josh is like, "I just want to win." And it gave me goosebumps honestly the way that he said it. But like I think he and Trevor both like just like want to win so badly and they're doing everything they
Make
can and they just aren't getting enough out of the rest of the roster
Oh, speaking of the
make Trevor
defense,
and Josh Jags for
yeah.
life.
Yeah, I was gonna
for
say,
sure.
odds that Baalke low balls Josh Allen this offseason. Why is it not 100%?
It's 100%, but I mean, he's gonna Shipley's been saying this for a while, but he's gonna get the like Evan Engram treatment where he's gonna get tagged and then they're gonna try to like work on a long-term extension before Allen officially signs the tag. But I would bet the mortgage that the Jaguars like place their franchise tag on Josh Allen before the new league year starts in March.
If you let Josh Allen walk, that alone has to get you fired. Like he's not only has he been drafted for this team when they were terrible, which still kind of are, but he saw this team help them go from being he turned himself into being the guy we all wanted him to be as a top 10 overall pick, near top of the league in your pressures and sacks. He's been everything you want. He's been loyal to this team, a locker room leader. If you don't pay him, that would just be a huge slap in the face to everyone in the locker room. Not even just for on the field, but just for off the field, what he means to the city. I feel you kind of have to pay him. So if for some doomsday scenario where Josh Allen walked, I think that's when Baalke would have to go because you can't defend that. I mean, you can't go into the season with Trevon as if you go into the season with Chase on as pass rusher number 2, then good lord, we are going to have a problem.
I mean, it definitely is a fireable offense, but it's just like not going to happen because they do have the franchise tag. Like they're not letting him leave town no matter what, nor as they should.
Yeah, that's fair, but I just feel like you just got to get it done as soon as possible. I know it's probably going to be a tag, but I think like I said, I don't know what an NFL franchise as a general manager looks like, but I just feel like if you want to set a good culture and you want to set example for guys in that locker room, you pay your best players, and Josh Allen is by far your best player on that defense. And if you get him locked up long term, that just sets up it just sets everything up. You just got to hit on everything else when it comes to draft picks, making sure the guys that you want to build your defense around, whether that is Tyson Campbell or Andre Cisco, around Josh Allen to be set up. And just like that fear of tag and then wait and see is, it's not reassuring personally, as, looking into already next season, because we feel like we can't do anything more than maybe a wild card berth, if not a very fluky divisional round berth again. Like, I don't know what to really say at this point. Like, we've been
It's
talking for almost an hour. We didn't even get to the goddamn Panthers game because we're just so detested with how this past month has been.
so is Bryce Young going to have his career high in passing yards and
Yes.
touchdowns this Sunday?
Ooh.
Yes. What is it? Let me go look
Yeah,
real quick.
probably.
I texted John this before off that since Chark had a good game, it's not going to be Chark who kills us, but Levis is going to have more touchdowns than he did in all of 2021. He's going to have 2 touchdowns in Jacksonville to make up for the fact he had no touchdowns the Urban year because that'd be so Jags. Laviska just breaks off the stupidest screen that it was like 5 missed tackles that are easy tackles. It's gonna be the Pittman screen, but for 70 yards, and we're
Oh,
just
the
all
Pittman
going.
screen.
It's just gonna be that, but with a slower, worse player, and the fans'
Right.
trauma is just going to just break through. That's
Mm.
going to be the peak Jag experience. I'm like, okay, we're losing this game.
Yeah,
I
Once
kind of
Laviska breaks
so
that screen off,
I just looked it up. Bryce Young broke his NFL passing yards mark last week at 312 yards, but his passing touchdown mark is at 3 against Detroit back in October. And he hasn't actually thrown an interception in the last few weeks of the season. So he's actually taking care of the ball too, better than he has throughout the season. Since I decided to call him Bryce Bortles, he's probably gonna have the game of his life one Sunday.
I can't decide if it's either going to be a press disaster class, a call disaster class, or both. It could be both, or maybe it's just all special teams. I don't even know at this point. And we're the fact that they haven't even worked out any new kickers.
Yeah, they did. They brought in Matthew
Oh, they
Wright.
worked.
They worked
Oh,
out Matthew
UCF
Wright.
legend.
Yeah, your fellow knight, Javal. They worked him
Oh
out
man.
again.
Well, we can't kick field goals over 50 yards anyway, so might as well get Matthew right.
I think the Jags defense will hold the Panthers to like 20 or 24 points or something like that. And then it's just a matter of like whether the Jags offense continues to shoot themselves in the foot or not, or if they can
They
actually
will. They
score some
will. It's
touchdowns.
not a matter of if, it's a matter of how many bullets do they shoot themselves in the foot with.
Didn't Martineau do like a weird serial killer psychopath handwritten graph to where he said the Jaguars like passed over midfield like 100 times and only scored on like 55 of them or some stupid
Dude,
bullshit
that
like
was the
that.
weirdest tweet I've seen the whole season. It's
But
like
it's
that's what
so
computers were made for, dude. What
but
are
it's
you
also so
doing?
Jags. We have to do everything the hardest, most complicated way possible, like
They
Martineau
just
did that
say
graphic.
give the Jags are the player who's like, I don't want to play the game on easy, hardest difficulty possible. They turn the sliders all the way up. They said we want to make it as difficult on ourselves as possible every single game.
But also,
I
I'm going
hate
to
this
change the
game.
controls so I don't know what I'm doing as well.
Um, yeah, pretty much. I hate this
Yeah,
team.
the like Press Taylor just doesn't realize that he's got inverted controls on right now.
Said,
I hate when
wait a
that
minute,
happens.
I've been playing on very difficult this whole time. I could change the difficulty down and actually try to use more motion and make the plays easier. Nah, that's for pussies. I don't
Nah.
want to do that.
All right. Anything really to watch out for, whether besides DJ Chark and LaVisca Chenault having the game of their lives on Sunday?
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm looking to see whether Derek Brown can get Tyler Shatley in the game. Like, I wonder if, because like, there's no way, there's no way that Sheriff, Anton, or Cam Robinson are benched if they're playing poorly. But like, I think if Ezra or Luke Fortner are playing like horrifically, then like, there's
If
like, I feel like the coaching staff has gotten to a point where they're like, we got to try anything, and so like, I wonder
Week
if we see
17 in the
at any
season. Time
point.
to make some
we have
changes
to,
finally. Week 17, everyone.
it
Just
would
took a
actually,
4-game losing streak with our season on the line. I
it
love
would
it.
actually be hilarious if all it take was them to put Sheriff in for Fortner, and then the running game got like a yard per carry better.
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't think that would actually happen.
Yeah,
A
probably
because
not, but I've never considered it either. That it's not the worst idea, but
Yeah,
it
but can
probably
we
just
never
makes more sense to keep, because then you have a hole at right guard, so you might as well just keep Sheriff there and then throw in Shatley at center.
rest in peace, Cooper Hodges? I don't even know why we had hope in the first place because he also got
Oh,
hurt in the preseason.
I would hold out a little bit of hope. Like I think he could be a part of future plans. I think they like
I
him.
Local kid tugboat,
I,
baby.
I'm I'm scared because you said they like him and their offensive line evaluations. They like Fortner too. So I'm like,
Yeah, he's
yeah,
also kind of similar to Fortner in that like his like physicality is a lot better and he's like way better at finishing plays, but he's also like pretty short and small, kind of like Luke Fortner is, which is
Luke
fair because he was
Fortnite.
what undrafted. So
Don't tell
we
me we
shall
have
see.
a better version of Luke Fortner, but we didn't draft him whatsoever, or draft him in the 7th round. That's crazy.
Round. I mean,
Yeah,
I think getting a better Fortner was not really saying that much, all things considered. So congratulations, you have a slightly below average offensive lineman.
I would expect Hodges to be a guard going forward, though. I mean, I don't know whether he's like played any center in his career or not, because I think he was actually was he a tackle in
I
college?
think he
He
might
was
have
a
been a
right
tackle in
tackle
college.
at Appalachian
And
Yeah,
State, I
yeah,
believe.
moved. So I mean, this is how bad the season's gone. We're just hoping that any late round pick can just be a better run blocker. I remember I made a joke with John that Vita Vea was just going to suplex Fortner last week, and Derek Brown's probably going to do the same exact. I mean, to be fair, I think everyone has suplexed him just of how weak he is. So, um, it's that Joker gif where he just falls all the way back. So that's just Fortner every running play. Just a little bit of power, and he just flying back like a paper in the wind.
dude,
So
that GIF is hilarious. That's like one of the ones I just crack up every time I see it.
that is my
It's
go-to
true.
Every time I think of that GIF, I just think of Fortner because I see 79 in a Jags jersey, just every running play, just getting pushed back.
Yeah, like the wind is blowing him off his butt. It's ridiculous.
But
I don't want to be more depressed. I don't want to talk more about Luke Fortner, guys. I don't know, but
All right, John, give us a score prediction.
oh God, you're the one who
take
started
us
it.
home. Take it home, John.
Fuck off, guys. Uh, I'm gonna be the first. I'm gonna do a first ever thing, the Jagged Edge. Carolina 27, Jacksonville 15. It's gonna be one of those days. The first time I ever
Jacksonville
predicted a loss. Jacksonville
15.
15, Carolina 27.
15 is a very interesting score total, but I can.
We scored 12 last week, three more
Five
than
field
last week.
goals.
No, just missed
McManus
2-point
can make that many
conversions.
field goals.
No,
Is
exactly.
that
Yeah,
possible?
yeah, Gus. Yeah,
Fair.
exactly. Missed 2-point conversions because we're forced to play from behind again.
Mm. No, that makes sense. I like 15. I like 15 as a score prediction. What about you, Javal?
Well, Carolina allowed 33 points last week, so we're going to score about 12 again. Pretty much on. I'll say Jags 13, Panthers 24, and I think the defense can slow them down enough, but I just don't see between the lack of the running game, either you have banged up Trevor or Beathard and an offense that's pretty predictable and vanilla. I just don't see this team scoring enough to put the Panthers in a bit of a stress because, their offensive line is also not that great, but I just think considering how everything's been going, I don't see this team putting enough points on the board to pressure the Panthers, which is really sad. And their defense is underrated too. It has got some good pieces. So yeah, Panthers 24, Jags 13, and Beathard has two turnover game.
Is CJ Henderson still alive
Oh
on the
God,
Carolina
no!
roster?
CJ's gonna
I think
have a.
he's probably
It's
on the
gonna be.
roster.
It's gonna be
Uh,
Chark long touchdown, Laviska touchdown, CJ pick six.
I
well,
love the Chark touchdown one because like I feel like Chark is actually still somewhat of a relevant player.
he
Chark is
scored two
Chark had two
touchdowns
touchdowns.
last
Chark
week,
is
didn't
still
he?
good.
Did he score two
Yeah.
touchdowns
Chark
last
would
week?
be. Chark would probably be better than Zay this year. I'm not even trolling. Not only in terms of talent, but also what they need more of speed. I would
Deep
take Chark.
threat.
Is he a free agent? I would take Chark back.
I would. That's so sad because
I like
Baalke's
Josh
gonna want
Reynolds.
value.
Josh Reynolds is my guy in free agency for
Well,
receivers.
like I
Because
guess we
like
could.
a T Higgins isn't going to happen. Mike Evans would be perfect because of his age, he's not going to be crazy expensive. But he's not going to happen either. So like, yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
setting my sights on Josh Reynolds now.
yeah, you're just gonna make me want to bring you back for an off-season pod, which is what, perfect
Oh,
because right
that's my
now we're just
specialty. I love the offseason. It's just full of hypotheticals aren't going to happen.
Hypothetical. Yep.
because Trent Baalke is gonna want to step on our dicks. I love that. I
We're
love
gonna
that.
have a great offseason plan. Yeah, we're gonna draft this player. We're gonna watch Baalke take a safety second round, and we're all just going to bang our heads against the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know this clown wig is staring right at me like the Green Goblin mask again, guys. It's really calling to me. I think I'll lost this season.
I think you
Bring it
should
out for
bring the
vacation.
clown mask just in case they need to
The
wear it.
mask and the
Yeah,
wig.
throw it in your back pocket.
I think it's definitely gonna be in my back pocket this Sunday. I
If
hate
we're
that you're not coming, Javal, but it's just it is gonna be in my back pocket. The mask and the wig. It's just gonna be in my like a bunny tail, just following me around. I'll just bring it up when we're down double digits to Bryce Young and the Panthers.
so halfway through the first quarter,
Yeah, exactly.
I I think my score prediction is 24-21 Jaguars. I have like lost all hope for the season and don't expect them to like do anything significant the rest of the way, but I do think they're gonna win another game. Like I think like they're still trying. I don't think Doug has like completely lost the locker room, or at least not yet. So and like the Panthers are probably better than their 2-13 record suggests, especially like just looking at last week's game where they like held it close against the Packers, but like they still are probably the worst team in football, and like Bryce Young is still pretty terrible. So I think the Jags will eke one out. I'm buying the dip.
Which is crazy because if they do win, there's a chance we could win the AFC South if Tennessee beats the Texans somehow,
probably not
and
happening.
the freaking Colts, which is more likely to lose the Raiders, even if they are in Indianapolis, because the Raiders have been hot for whatever goddamn reason.
Yeah, I will say asterisk though. This is assuming Trevor Lawrence starts. If CJ Beathard is a starter, then it's going to be 100-0 Panthers. It's
Oh
going
my
to be good.
I'm just preparing for a world in which we have CJ Beathard throwing for 304 touchdowns and we somehow still lose because that would actually be
Uh,
peak Jags.
it would be, and I get what you're saying, but like if CJ Beathard starts, his passer rating is going to be like 4. It's not going to be good.
Oh,
I
I
didn't see
love the
him
confidence,
play at
guys.
all versus Tampa, so I don't know how bad he looked.
People think he looks good. Like he's not a bad like backup, but like all of his like time and snaps this season have been in garbage time. Like obviously he's going to be able to
Besides
complete a
Cincinnati,
couple
to be
short
fair,
passes.
and I
That's
feel
true.
like I feel like they
But that
got
was
robbed.
also one like 2
Yeah,
drives and they didn't win.
and I feel like they got robbed. I think they took away the long pass. I've seen a lot worse holding
Yeah.
calls.
It's
I've
funny
still
because
felt
Ridley had like a couple like brutal drops, I feel like, in that game, or at least just like general mistakes. And then of
Mhm.
course, like that's the one that he comes down with is one from Bethard. And then it's called back because of a hold. So
Just
it
a
was so
ticky. It's a
jacked.
ticky tack call too. I still can't be masked about that
Yeah, no,
holding
it
call.
was not a great call.
Even at home on prime time, the league is Everyone is so pessimistic, so I'm actually kind of scared we're winning this game. Either we're winning out
That's
or
what I'm
losing out.
saying. Buy the dip. Like literally, everyone is so far out on the Jaguars. Like it would be so Jaguars for them to win the game.
And the division. It's happening this Sunday now, fellas.
I think they win the. I don't think they're winning the division. That'd be
Okay.
crazy. At least not this week. It would be
Okay.
pretty funny though, because like if they like win an ugly game against Carolina and it's like rainy and like bad conditions and like no one has any fun, and then they like win the division because the
Everyone would just go
Texans.
home and just be like, "Huh?"
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Stroud is playing, so I don't see. I mean, anything could happen, but
Because I don't know if it's just me, but I just feel like the last time he played an NFL game, he looked dog shit without Tank Dell. Like, did we not forget how bad CJ Stroud looked? Even though the Jets defense is pretty good, that he did not look good with he looked lost without Tank Dell the
it is
last
also the
NFL game.
Titans, so I don't expect them to do something good for us because I'm still mad the last time they played. I said this before the last time. Who was the Case Keenum literally threw it right to the Titans defensive back and he got away with it. So I was like, yep, the Titans are just terrible. They can't do anything to help us ever.
That's fair. Mike Vrabel also
I
looks like dead man walking over there too. I
Yeah,
just
he
that's what
did.
it's like. That's when I'm scared that if we don't make the playoffs and you retain the GM and the head coach, we're just gonna be that Titans team that's this year. We're just gonna find a way to be like 6-11 or 5-12 or whatever the fuck the Titans are gonna
Yeah,
finish this
stuck
season
in
because
mediocrity.
yeah, it's just you don't really want to be stuck in that position. Like, is it harsh for me to think that I want the GM and the head coach to be canned, even with a playoff berth or not? You can't when you go from 8-3, potentially fighting for the number one seed, and then missing the playoffs entirely. That's almost inexcusable to me as like a fan. And I don't
Yeah,
know you,
I don't think you're wrong, but like firing both of them would be wild. Like I think even if like one of them gets fired, I would personally be very surprised. So like I don't even think you're like overreacting that much, but I'm just saying like just to bring you back down to earth a little bit, like
yeah.
firing both of them would be so crazy.
This is the same owner that kept Gus Bradley for 4 years. So
Yeah.
I no matter what happened, I don't see Baalke getting fired no matter what. So unfortunately.
What can you
Yeah,
do,
like even
guys?
Urban, like he was definitely like on his way out, obviously, but like it still took the scandal in Ohio for him to actually get canned with like a public embarrassment and like not
Josh
like
Lamb. I thought it was the
Bobby's not
Lambos
gonna
that
have any
get him
public
fired.
embarrassments because he's like behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So like the only way that Baalke really gets out, or like the only way one of them gets fired is if like Baalke or Peterson like shoves each other out and it's like a real power struggle. But like other than that, like Javal's right. Khan is just gonna sit on his hands.
Can we put Baalke on the Epstein list? Is that possible?
I,
That might be our
I'm
only
not the guy to
option.
ask for that. I got no connections there.
Do
You
you still
said you
have the
have no
Photoshop?
connections.
Do you still have that
I
Photoshop?
I
I
don't
have
have
the
a guy
Photoshop.
related to that.
Yeah. I have the Photoshop on my phone still. Like you got to put the ownership and management at the Epstein list for letting this go on for too long. I like how we have one good year, we have all the high hopes. We start 8-3, and then we're back to dog shit. What the fuck is going on mode? Not even a year after the greatest playoff home win that we'll probably ever see. That is
I
not
somehow blame
maybe.
the Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers. Thank you though. Salute
I'm
Brandon
I'm
Staley.
I'm angry but upset at Brandon Staley because I think if we didn't win that playoff game, they would have been not as prideful. They probably would have tried to improve. Actually, no, it is bulky, so he would have been like, "Yep, we're doing fine." So
No, I would
Brandon,
have paid a lot of money to see a multiverse video, a multiverse movie of like what the Jaguars' 2023 offseason and regular season would have looked like if they had lost that playoff game, or even if they had lost the Week 18 game to the Titans and not made the playoffs at all. It's like how drastically does that change the urgency for Jaguars front office? That'd be interesting, but we'll never know
that'll be an off season discussion, and we have all day just to talk and throw things on the wall. So
for sure.
gotta have you back, Gus.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, boys. It was a good
I
time.
know. First time meeting Gus, and to say I enjoyed it. I think it was a little bit of venting, a little bit of like, crying on the inside, a little bit of, frustration, a
And the
little bit of
outside.
all the negative emotions that we've had for this football team for the past month. But win or loss on Sunday, what can you do, right?
What are you gonna do?
loss.
It's gonna be this. Well, Gus is Mr.
100 to
Positivity for once,
0.
Javal. You brought me down to your level. How do you feel?
Oh, it feels great to have someone else in the dumps with me. Unfortunately, it feel that's the thing though. I think I've been so accustomed to just negativity and pain and misery from this team that it feels somewhat refreshing to go back to it. So
And I'm the one calling for heads, Javal. Not even you. It's me that wants everyone fired. So that's the really frustrating part. I've been
I just
Mr.
want a new
Positivity
starting
all
center.
season. Yeah, you know what? That's fair. Even
I'm
if we
with you,
got a
man.
new
That's all.
starting
That's all
center,
I want for Christmas.
not even
I need
yeah.
a
What
belated
New Year's
Christmas.
resolution? Not Luke Fortner at center. You can
No
put
more
the three of
Fortnite.
us combined. No
Yeah,
more
quit playing
Fortnite.
Fortnite.
Can we like
No,
get?
That's
Can we all
good.
merge together like Dragon Ball
no
Z?
more
We'll
Fortnite.
just all
No more
combine.
Fortnite.
We'll
I
all
don't call
combine
him.
it to one person.
I won't call him Fortner until we average 4 yards a carry one game.
Mm.
So not until
So when he's out of the starting
2025,
lineup,
probably.
got it.
Yeah, probably.
2025, right?
Oh man. Gus, Javal, thank you for joining us once again for a very, very fun. It was a very fun podcast.
Support
It's
Gus. Follow him if you don't already. Tell the people where they can find you, Gus.
Yeah, just at Gus_Logue on Twitter. You can find my stuff there. Like you were saying earlier, I forgot to plug it. The Jaguar Report podcast on YouTube and anywhere else you get your podcasts. If you're looking for another Jags pod.
Yeah, if you want the official, we're the unhinged one, and if you want to listen to an official Jags pod, then shout out Gus and Jon, friends of the pod. So happy that we could have
absolutely.
you on.
We got the second half of the Jag report on, like not even a month after we got it. So that's
Yes,
wonderful.
sir.
That this off season
That's what
pod
that
when
should
we
be. That should be my Twitter bio, honestly. It's just the second half of the Jaguar Report podcast. That's a good way of putting it.
nah, you're
Oh
underselling
no. You're
yourself.
underselling
No, no,
yourself.
no. John,
No,
John is
no, no.
definitely the 1A and I'm the 2B.
Nah, nah,
No,
nah.
no, no. 1A, 1B. It's always 1A, 1B at the Jaguar Report.
One,
Javal's the biggest fan. Like for real. He always talks about how you guys just
I'm
like make the
I'm a big
dopest
fan
podcast.
when the Jags are winning, and
Oh,
I'm in the
Right. I was gonna
positive
say, except for the
headspace.
past month.
It's not so much I don't want to listen because I dislike you two. It's just I can't bring myself to
No,
think
I
about
know.
Jags related things. I can't think about this team. It's just been audiobook. So
I mean,
if
audiobooks
we
are better
win,
anyway. Learn something new. Don't look.
if we
That's
somehow pull off a win, then I will be the first person to the Jag Report pod. So
or be like me, go back to your childhood and just play more NCAA football 14
yeah,
whenever
that's
you
what I
feel
would
sad.
recommend. All
But
right,
have
Jamal,
to
it's
get
been a pleasure. I'll definitely I would love to come back in the off season for sure to break down all the things that won't happen in terms of roster building.
yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we just got to bring ourselves down to a level, especially me that had such high hopes, and here I am, lower than Javal. That like, how did this happen? Like, but anyways, guys,
Luke
please,
Fortner.
yeah, but like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Gus, thank you again for joining us. Javal, I love you. I hate that you're
Thank you.
not here on Sunday, but I understand. Fuck driving 2 hours to see this pathetic football team. I will still be there Sunday. Ah, God, why?